Hello, and welcome to It's an Artful Life. I'm your host, Jillian Rhodes. This project started with a question: do the arts matter anymore? I decided to start asking people that very question and came up with this project, an experiment on how, and if, people see and experience the arts in their daily lives. Is it an artful life? Let's find out. You might have seen the high culinary arts before, with plates that are more paintings than food, tastes perfectly selected according to science. There's certainly an art to that, and in comparison, the simplicity of home cooking might not seem like anything. But isn't there a certain art about making good food that's good for you with a few ingredients in your fridge? That's definitely what my interviewee today thinks. She also happens to be my sister, but has an interesting perspective on how cooking and the art of living have changed over the course of her life. Enjoy! The first question is always the same, though, and that's just, please introduce yourself.
I'm Darcy. I'm Jillian's sister. I'm a native of Denver, Colorado, and I've relocated this year to Spokane, Washington. And I went here to hopefully study and pursue a master's degree in nutrition. And if that happens or not remains to be seen, but that was why I came. And aside from which, I love the area.
And you're working in nutrition?
Yes, I'm working right now at a long-term care facility where I'm working in the dietary department, so we put out all the meals and the snacks. Some patients have a personal menu of what they like and what they don't like, otherwise they just get it's a 4-week rotating menu, and it's basic food. And then they get boosts and supplements and other snacks. There's a certain regulation that they have to have a certain amount of food. So that is what I do, and I enjoy it very much. My manager is the best manager I've ever had, so I do enjoy that job.
Good. Do you participate in the arts?
I would have to say that I participate in the arts as culinary. I think that the main art that I do is cooking, and I'm not doing as much cooking over there, but I do cook for myself at home and I had a dinner club with my parents a couple times after they got home, which was really fun. So I think my participation in arts right now is limited to cooking, and then also I do some sewing. So I think that is art as well.
Yeah. But in the past, you've been also involved in the arts in a variety of ways, though.
Yeah, in the past I've done in the past I did some sewing. When I was young, I did several sewing projects. And then when I was young, I also did a lot of coloring, and I do that somewhat now, but not very often. And then like I said, so I have a couple of cross-stitch projects that I've done. And then when I was first out of high school, I thought I wanted to be a fashion designer, so I did go to Savannah College of Art and Design for a year to check that avenue out.
Eventually decided not to pursue it, obviously, because you're in nutrition now.
Yeah, I decided that, for one thing, fashion design as they taught it was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do more like my mom is doing, which is take apart clothing and repurpose it and make it creative and make double purpose, or what she does with those skirts. She takes 2 skirts and sews them together, and then she comes up with something new and creative. And that was more what I wanted to do with fashion design. And that's not what it was. It was about the garments and the design and the drawing, which I was okay at, but not very good at. So, and it was out of state, and I don't think I was ready, so I decided after a year that I wasn't going to come back.
Okay. Do you consider yourself an artistic person?
Yeah, I do. Again, creativity is cooking for me, and cooking for me is art. So in that regard, I do consider myself an artistic person.
Do you have a particularly memorable experience of art in your life?
I think what I really has stuck with me is when I don't remember, it was for some class project or another, I was looking at glass art. And, the glass artist Dale Chihuly, at some of the sculptures, and, he does like sculptured flowers and chandeliers, and are his two specialties. So his work has always stuck with me, and it's just absolutely fascinating and really, really beautiful stuff. And I went to an exhibit with him at the Denver Botanic Gardens, where his art was incorporated into the flowers at the Denver Botanic Gardens. And it was just a really, really, really incredible. It was a really pretty memorable experience.
Yeah. So kind of, I mean, what drives you to the art? It's like what makes you think something is art, or kind of, I'm curious, talking about this guy's work, but also talking about cooking as art. Like, what kind of pushes you to do arts or participate in them or see them or enjoy them?
Well, I consider, for me, art is what you can take apart and put back together or repurpose. And that's how I'm drawn. I mean, cooking is not just for eating for me. Cooking is a creative process in which you take all the elements and you put them together into something. And I enjoy cooking tremendously because of that. And then the main reason I've been drawn to cooking and the arts there is because of my health. Is because I had a very serious health crisis, and in order to get fully back to where I needed to be, I changed my diet pretty much completely. And ever since then, cooking and food has been not just I don't want to say it's a necessity, but it is a necessity. I don't see it as a necessity because it's a joyful thing for me, but it's a necessity. I need to cook and make the food that my body will love.
Yeah. It's interesting that, I think, for a lot of people that kind of have to change their diet, it's almost like a labor, it's something that they kind of have to do, but, you've kind of approached it as an art, and it's really helped you. That's really interesting.
Well, I mean, I have approached it from the attitude of no one told me stop gluten, stop soy, stop dairy. I did that on my own, and just by doing that and listening to my own body when I did that and made those choices, and I felt my body was happier without them, and I was not forced to change my diet. I chose to. So it's never been a labor for me.
I think that's really important, and it's a good point. Everybody's trying to go on diets and stuff, but you've really succeeded in that, and you're also healthier than you've ever been before, right?
I would have to say so, yeah. Not at the moment, but usually I am healthier. I am healthier than I have ever been.
Good. Okay. Um, so kind of on a slightly different track, do you think that you experience the arts on a, I mean, I do talk about it with cooking, but just in general, do you experience the arts on a daily basis? So like going to work, like around you right now, kind of, is that something that you kind of deal with on a daily basis?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think where I live, my neighborhood is a nice historic place. And in my apartment, I've made my own with art and all my decor that is in here. And so I do think that I experience art just in my daily surroundings every day. And up at about a mile away is a flower garden and a perennial garden and rose garden, and I would go there every day and be perfectly happy if I could. So that is the place where I go to experience art and nature.
Do you think nature is art?
I would have to say so, yeah. Because, especially the example of the park that I'm, Manitou Park, just the way the flowers are planted, and especially if you go to the formal gardens, they're all set up in a certain design, and all the flowers are planted in a certain way that makes a pattern. So I definitely think, and with the perennial garden, it just looks so, it's just a really beautiful place.
Yeah.
Oh, I would definitely say nature has its own artistic value to it. I mean, I'm sitting in my apartment looking at the rain. I do like rain, I think. And actually my neighborhood has some pretty nice houses. So I mean, I think nature is art. For
It's
sure.
interesting, you're talking about gardens and the way the flowers are planted. It's kind of like a garden is a piece of art with flowers as the medium, instead of using paint as a medium, they've used flowers as their medium.
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting. Okay, so the next couple of questions are just total thought experiments, they're kind of difficult to answer a picture, but basically, if there was no art, what would your life or the world, or, you can answer it in different ways, but your personal experience or the world, but what do you think life would be like without art?
My life would definitely be a lot more boring. I think everything is art. Basically, the way I get up and dress, can be art. I like to put together a good outfit on occasion. That's art for me. I like to cook. If there was no cooking, you'd be dead. So,
Right.
if there was only certain things that you were limited in your food supply, it would be difficult. It wouldn't be impossible, but it would be difficult. And then, no flower gardens, I think that would be definitely a lot more boring. Just, my apartment would not be what it is without art. And the art makes the place, basically, so it would definitely be a lot more boring without art.
Yeah. Okay, it would be more boring, but you said it wouldn't be impossible.
Yeah, it would be boring in the sense that there's no color, no creativity, but it's not impossible, especially when it comes to cooking. I do it all the time. It's not impossible to make something out of very limited quantity of ingredients. So if I was limited in ingredients, I could make something out of it and become creative. So I think for me, I do it all the time, so being limited would only enhance my creativity.
Well, that's interesting, actually, because I've just, you've sort of basically talked about a world without art that is actually stimulating to creativity, which builds more art. So how does that work?
I know, I'm kind of all over the map here, aren't I?
No. I mean, I just think it's not that at all. It's not about you. I just think it's interesting that, I mean, it's happened before when I ask people to go to a place without art. It often requires art to explain, or, that they're saying that basically the answer is, well, we make stuff anyway, It's like irrepressible.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't not be creative in some way.
No, I mean, I think you're always gonna be creative. It's just our nature to be creative. So, especially when it comes to essentials. Like, maybe I want to be so creative it became to, like, if I didn't have art in my apartment, it would be boring, but I don't know if I would knock myself out to create something. But when it came to food, I would definitely, take what was in my fridge and make something.
Okay, and then the next question is kind of the opposite of that, which is that all the art is still there, but, the flower gardens are still there, your apartment still has the art in the walls and stuff, but you were kind of unable to experience it as art. You weren't, you wouldn't necessarily look at a painting and be like, oh gosh, that's a painting, that's beautiful. It'd just kind of be almost like part of the wall. What do you think that would be like?
I think back in my past life, I was like that. I didn't really appreciate the beauty of much. I kind of took it all for granted, and I was pretty much a space cadet, pretty much sleepwalking through life. And I only really woke up when I was in the hospital. And that was when I realized that I needed to be more aware and more engaged, or I would die. It was really that blunt. And I just, and ever since then, I have just appreciated the little things a lot more. And I just think that, I can't even remember what it was like. I can barely remember when I was in college, which was 2011. I can barely remember anything that I did back then. It's just been an awakening like that. I just don't remember anymore. I don't remember what my past life was. It was a past life. I don't remember. Honestly, I don't. It's pretty amazing, but I honestly do not remember what I was like, but it's something I would have done. It was something that I would have just taken for granted and say, oh, look, a painting. And not, experience anything like that. Which probably explains why I was so cynical about, like, every time I would go to an art museum, I would be like, oh, a painting of a nude person. And I'm boring. I didn't appreciate it, But not like I'm not necessarily a fan of all the paintings and arts and stuff and whatnot, but, I would definitely look at it a little closer and be more aware of what it was.
Oh.
So, I would definitely appreciate it more, but so I think that, it's kind of like sleepwalking. You're just there. You don't see any value in things. You're just there.
Wow. Okay. The last question that I have is pretty simple, but it's, what do you think it means to live an artful life?
Well, I think it means to be engaged and to just Because I think art is pretty much all around us. Some things are more artistic than others. For example, the flower garden is more artistic than, say, being stuck in traffic. But I would say that art is all around us, and just appreciating the little things makes us more able to, I think appreciation is the first step to creativity, and then creativity lends itself to art in some definition or another, which everybody's definition would be different, but it is, it ultimately that would be the outcome.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, cool. It's an Artful Life will return next week with another interview. Thanks for listening.